Hey everyone, welcome to a special Tint Wisdom. This is a town hall Tint Wisdom. I'm joined with 5 guests today, as you can see, a first of its kind on Tint Wisdom, and I think in the tint industry. The idea behind today's Tint Wisdom was something that Patrick actually brought up. So I want to pass it over to Patrick and let him give you a better idea of what we have in store today.
So this call, actually, I spoke to Eric after David Reed in California, and I talked yesterday about some of the challenges that dealers across the country are dealing with regard to the COVID-19 crisis. And some of the states actually have mandatory shutdowns. Some of the states aren't quite there yet, but everybody's grappling with how to manage this as far as their shop and what they should be doing and what their plans are. So we thought it'd be great to kind of get a variety of people from around the country. So David Reed from Costa Mesa, California, Chris Robinson from the Atlanta, Georgia area, Ty Sullivan from Mississippi, Harry Rahman from Veloce Films, and obviously Eric and myself together to just sort of have a conversation about what we're hearing, what we're doing. Specifically, 3 guys on here, as well as Eric, are running actual tint shops that are dealing with this on the front lines and what they're doing and decisions they're making on a daily basis. So with that, I think maybe do some introductions and we'll jump in.
Perfect. So let's do that. Obviously, Patrick, thanks for coming up with this, and thanks for that introduction. With us, we have Chris Robinson.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be here with a bunch of people I call friends, especially Tinter. Me and him share similar businesses. We are still open and trying to stay healthy.
Chris, where are you located?
We are just north of Atlanta in the burbs.
Okay.
Directly north.
And then Tinter, thanks for joining.
Yeah, Ty Sullivan or Tinter Sullivan. I've been part of this group for a long time with Patrick and Chris and a lot of these guys. Have a business here in Mississippi. Been around for a long time. We have around 6 employees, and we do commercial, residential, and automotive, and we are currently fully closed at this time.
And then we have Chris Robinson. No, we have Dave, Costa Mesa Dave.
Yep. What's going on, everybody? I think I know everybody. Most people know me. I'm David Reed, Signature Glass Tinting out in Costa Mesa, California. And for the record, we are 100% closed also.
And I just want to mention, Dave, you have one of my favorite Instagram accounts. I follow you on Instagram, and I really enjoy a lot of the videos you post on there. Just saying.
Thank you.
Very entertaining. And then we have Harry Rahman from Veloce Innovations.
Hi guys, we are first of all, thanks for the invitation. We are open as of today. Things change tomorrow. Harris County, which is the 4th or 5th largest county in the United States, is being shut down for non-essential businesses. So as of tomorrow, we will be closed. So I'm in between David, you, and Ty, you, and then Chris has the liberty so far of enjoying business.
So, first of all, before we get started or really dive into it, because I want to basically open this up to anybody watching. Obviously the idea here is this is kind of a roundtable discussion. We're going to share what we're experiencing. We're going to ask any questions we have for each other, but this is also open to the comments, whether you're sharing what you're doing or you're sharing a question or concern that you have. That's the idea behind today's Tint Wisdom. And with that said, if you can share it into any groups you have or share it with your friends, that's a great way to get more people in here, which is going to, bring more information in here and help answer questions and so on. Because we're in here together. I don't think anybody has all the answers, but together we can maybe help with some of those questions and answers. So please give it a share. This is a time we don't typically go live, so it helps to get everybody in here. And with that said, is there anyone like Chris, do you have any, you're obviously shut down. California is one of the most, I would say one of the most strict states. They were one of the first.
Chris is in Atlanta.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Dave.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place, and I'm running this board, so I apologize.
No. Let me help you out. Let me tell you how this got started. Let me tell you how this whole thing got started. So I called Patrick yesterday because this is the challenge that I have, and I wanted Patrick to pass it on, and it's real simple. We're all dealing with this coronavirus. And first off, I should tell you, I feel so bad for the window film installers, for the shop owners, for the distributors, for the manufacturers, sales reps. I mean, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But the biggest challenge I have right now is immediately we closed. We don't want to be part of the spread of this disease. The problem I have is that my shop does, let's just average things around, I do like $100,000 a month in automotive business, automotive only. I'm doing zero. I took a loan out to pay my entire staff for 1 month, and the competitor down the road is open, and my guys want to go to work there. That's the problem I have, and that's the challenge I reached out to Patrick for, is that what do we do? Is it morally our responsibility to close and follow directions of the state, county, and government, or do we go after the dollar and keep our employees alive, above water? That's what I'm struggling with. Right now, we're closed. I have people on the schedule for Friday and Saturday that have been called, and they've been confirmed. They can't wait to come in. They want to come in tomorrow, but we do not know if we're going to open or not. We've called the county, we've called the city, we've called the police, we've called the sheriff. There's no enforcement, and they tell me, sir, you're an automotive business. You can be open. So my question for myself and my family is, what do we do? What's the morally right thing to do? And that's what I'm struggling with. Right now, I'm closed. But there's a really good chance I'm going to be open on Friday and Saturday because I have my entire staff begging to work. And of course, if we do open, we're going to take all the precautions. We're going to get Ziploc baggage for the keys. We're going to sterilize everything. We're not going to let people wait in the lobby. We're going to be responsible, social distancing. But still, there is a moral, at the end of the day, there is something we have to look at from a moral point of view. And that's where I'm struggling.
So, Eric, I'd like to just jump in and just, kind of define, David, you've got it's a very tough situation to be in because legally, the definition is the difference between right and wrong. Ethically, the difference is between right and right, or wrong and what's more wrong. So you're in that dilemma right now where it's not a matter of right and wrong. It's a matter of right and right, or wrong and wrong, and which one is more wrong.
I'd like to chime in too, if I could. The mandate makes it pretty clear, all non-essential businesses. And if window tinting companies in California are considered non-essential, then they should be closed. Correct. If somebody's going against that and they're being open, it has nothing to do with morality. You're breaking the law. You're breaking the rule. You're mandated to be closed. So that's real simple. But if you're in an area like that we are, we're still allowed to be open. And even if they mandated it, because of our classification, we're considered auto repair. I get it. It's not essential. It's not something that people can't live without. But somebody
Welcome to my life.
But if they spent 6 months putting off buying new tires, I don't see how that's essential for them to wait another two weeks. How does it make it less of a moral issue for an auto repair store than it does for us? So it's the same thing. We're going to remain open as long as we're allowed to. If they mandate it, we will probably close. And of course, I will pay my staff because I don't want to lose them. But I have prepared for this. Personally, I'm fine. I'm not worried. I would love to hit the road in an RV and stay gone for 2 months. But I can't because they're shutting everything down. But we're still going to run business. We have a video coming out on our Facebook page today explaining some changes. We have closed our waiting rooms. We're drop-off only. We're sanitizing everything. We're sanitizing the keys, the doorknobs, everything. So we're doing everything we can. And that until we're mandated to close, we're not going to.
And Chris, that's exactly where I'm at right now. The mandate says that automotive repair can be open. And the competition that I have in my area has taken the side that window tint shops is allowed to be open. I mean, I called one of my competitors yesterday. I'm not going to tell you who they were, but I called them and I said, "Hey guys, are you open?" They go, "Oh yeah." And I go, "Oh, how do you legally stay open with everything going on?" "Oh, well, we steam clean engines and cars and we're desanitizing vehicles." I go, "Oh, darn. I wanted to get my windows tinted." He goes, "Oh, no, we can still tint your car." This guy's a half a mile from me.
I mean, if the mandate says stay in place,
Right.
stay at home. People shouldn't be out getting their car tinted anyway. So if we're mandated to close, we're going to close. But legally, under the NIACS classifications, our classification is auto repair. So if somebody was to say, well, how can you be open because you're not auto repair? We're classified as auto repair, and it's on our business license. But I'm not going to argue the point. If they mandate it, we're closing.
Well, one of the things I think that's it. I want to just jump in real quick. One of the things I thought I wanted to have Ty on in Mississippi is right now he's sort of on a different side. I mean, I know in Dave, in your territory, it's mandated, and Chris, it's not in yours. Ty, correct me if I'm wrong. You actually made the decision to close, even though you're not mandated to close, correct?
That's correct. So we closed Friday, and it's a hard game, just like everyone's dealing with. My staff just felt uncomfortable working and being exposed to what we're getting exposed to, mostly on the automotive side, a little less on the commercial residential side, but also there. And we're lucky enough that we can afford to pay for this for a little while as just an investment in our employees. So we looked at it as, we want to protect their health the best we can. And we explained to them that by paying them to go home, we were actually paying them to go home and to sit at home and to not get the exposure. And it's been beating us up if it's the right or wrong decision, because that's such a scale right now. And everybody else that tints windows is still tinting them in our town. But what I have to remind myself is we haven't followed those people and how they've done business ever, and we've won because of it. And our staff is the most important investment to us. Do I know and believe that they'll remember this forever? I don't know that. But we think that right now it's the least we can do to protect them and protect us. And luckily, we are in a place where we can afford that for a small period of time. And everyone agreed that they were okay with that. And everyone agreed with using their vacation and sick days up front and then letting me add on to it at the end, and then looking at it on a week-to-week basis to see how we go at it from there. So that's where we are.
Yeah, props to you, Ty. That's a really great way to look at it, and really leadership perspective on it.
Yeah, but everybody can't do that, and everybody can't afford to do that, and it's scary for me because I'm watching, like y'all, all my competitors are open down the street tinting cars every day. Luckily, the demand isn't there and that high of a level, so we have everything forwarded. We're still, keeping track of all the leads, keeping track of everybody that wants everything done, and communicating our process with them. And we're losing money, no doubt. But the whole country is losing money right now. So it's just a matter of how we all play it. Everybody's going to play it a little bit differently.
So, David, you said something about, you asked some legal questions on if they can, what are the legal ramifications of if somebody stays open? So tomorrow in Harris County, they have, only essential businesses should stay open effect going on tomorrow, at least for 10 days or so. So what are some of the legal ramifications? Dave, have you looked into it?
Yeah, a little bit. So I'll answer that question, but I also want to tell you what you're going to expect, what happens tomorrow morning when you wake up. Your bike trails, you can't even ride a bike on. They're so fully loaded with people walking their dog and out riding. The beaches, if you have them, are packed. The parks are packed. It's like a vacation.
Agreed.
My buddy owns a Mexican restaurant down the street. We're very good friends. I was really worried about him. He's selling more tacos than he's ever sold in his life. The line is 50 people deep for lunch and dinner. He's thinking about doing breakfast burritos because the line is so long. People are not staying in their house, and that's the problem. The reason why my phone rang yesterday like 43 times is because people are treating this like it's a vacation. And again, there's some of us doing the morally right thing, in my opinion, and we're paying big time for it.
Well, Dave, you built a big business, and by pressing pause for 30 days, it's not going to change the fact that you do more work in your area. The other guys, they're doing the work. No. Your customers are going to come back. We could close tomorrow, and the same customers we would get for the next couple of weeks are going to be there a month from now. So we're not too worried about that.
I agree with you. I 100% agree, and that's why I've closed. I mean, guys, I've been closed since Thursday. The mandate came out Thursday. I closed, and If you're on my social media page, you've seen the videos I've been making. But legally, you asked about legally. I'm not a lawyer. I've called the local authorities, and they've told me, oh, sure, you're fine to be open. But here's what I think about legally. I have my employees work, someone gets sick, and then really I'm not automotive repair. And in the state of California, people are lawsuit crazy. What could that be for me? Is it worth me to go to work and make a couple $1,000s? And no, it's not. And that's why we've taken the position of closing.
Well, all of us, we are fortunate that we are considered industry leaders, and because of the size of our operations. But what about the guy that has a wife at home that's, she's pregnant, due any day? He's a subcontractor. He's out hanging film. What is he going to do in this short period of time? He's not going to be able to draw unemployment. He's not getting any work from us that are usually the people that contract them. This is really what this needs to be about.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something, that's where it comes down to, what we don't do in the regular part of the year, guys, and maybe we need to, is we need to talk about those subcontractors and how they're paying themselves. Are they paying themselves as an employee of their own corporation? Are they taking out taxes? Are they eligible for, the unemployment? We don't talk about it, and we need to. We need to learn from this and spread the word, because the truth is, I know people that are making $200,000 a year subcontracting themselves out to different tint shops, and they're not tinting. And if this goes really bad, they're done. Some of these guys have, like you said, babies at home, wives at home, new houses. So I think we need to, I look forward to the next Skype meeting we have where we talk about these things and address these things. And we try to teach the youngsters in this business how it's not about making all the money today, but planning for times like this, because I think times like this are going to become more common as we move forward. I mean, let's face it, I'm 47 years old. I think, Patrick, you're about my age, correct?
That's correct.
And I've worked for Lumar, I worked for Johnson, I've been to 5,000 tent shops. I can tell you my story. I've never heard of this. 9/11 was rough. We didn't work for 3-4 days? I don't think I sold a roll of film when I was working for Lumar at the time. We didn't sell a roll of film for 3 or 4 days. I haven't bought a roll of film. I buy film every 2-3 days. I haven't bought a roll of film since last Thursday, and I don't plan on buying this entire month. I'm stocked up. So people are going to lose their jobs, and people are going to be unemployed, and we need to come together as a group like we are, and we need to discuss these things together and work things out together, because there's a lot on our plate right now, guys. A lot.
I mean, we may be able to.
I'll just jump in real quick. I just looked up the law in California in terms of social distancing. They're saying that it's a misdemeanor. They haven't, in this particular article, they didn't mention anything about businesses, but personally, one could get a misdemeanor for it. Sorry.
Yeah, and our governor yesterday or the day before said, if we can, like, they just closed all our beaches, all our parks, all our bike trails just this morning. He said the next step, if we don't, together as a state and follow this 6-foot rule, then citations are going to be written. And I'd like to see, I'll tell you one way to solve it is I'd like to see citations written to businesses. I really would. That would keep people indoors. That would get the message out. It really would.
I disagree.
Go ahead,
I disagree. It's gonna happen. It's put in the mandate's put out there, especially in California, to try to slow people's actions and movement. They know that people are going to break the rules. They know companies are going to break the rules. It's self-policed. There's not enough police force to be writing citations to people. It's unnecessary interaction with somebody that could be infected. It's all going to happen.
Chris, you know what they're calling that out here? They're calling it public shaming. The governor is using that word. He's hoping for public shaming. He's hoping for. But
everybody's in the same boat. Atlanta will be under. In fact, the city of Atlanta is under mandate. We're not in the city, so we fall under the state. Yesterday, we thought at 5 o'clock we were going to get the delivery of a stay-in-place mandate, which we were going to take action and close our retail stores. We still have commercial work that we have to get done. We can't back off those job sites, but it's going to happen everywhere unless they break the curve. Everybody just needs to be prepared for it. The problem is that we can all afford to do this right now for 6 weeks, but where does it affect us? It affects us we're kicking the can down the road, and come January, February, when we've depleted all our cash reserves, even in the businesses or in the areas that don't have a mandate, they're still living off their cash reserves. So when it comes to the slow period in December, January, February, where's the money going to come from? Are we going to get any assistance? Because we don't get a bailout like, Delta or any auto manufacturer. We'll be lucky to get any kind of good rate on an SBA loan. That's it. So it's all going to affect us. Some it's affecting us now, others it's going to affect us later in the year.
So I've looked into the SBA loans, and it is worse. I don't know how your Department of Motor Vehicles is and where you live, but the SBA loan process is a nightmare. And it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money, and they want collateral. They want your house. They want the pink slip. They want something like that. It's not.
Of course.
It's not great.
So there
They're
are
giving
some
you money.
special, but there are some special provisions that the government is laying out in terms of business loans as it relates to a state of emergency. So we don't have all the details on it, but over the next few days, I'm hoping way before the end of this week, we will have some more information on loans for small businesses, as well as, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Marriott, about 2-3 days ago, furloughed about 2/3 of their corporate staff. 2/3, and we're talking about Marriott. So obviously, look, if we look at small businesses, which, Ty, you've done a good job of building a buffer, which not all businesses have done. I mean, Chris, we're talking to some of the shops, Patrick and Eric here, that have built some buffers. Not everybody's built that buffer, right? So that being said, one of the things we have to understand is if Marriott couldn't stand this thing 30 days and they're going to be looking for a bailout, I do think that the government will be government is working on some bailouts. Now, it's going to be very difficult for our types of the window film type of businesses because you're a small business and you don't necessarily take the payroll out for yourself that you would as an employee. But I'll tell you, I've got a friend. Okay, and that's good. Some people do, some people don't. So I've got a friend in Houston. He's got about 85 employees or so, and he's put them on furlough. And he's hoping that the changes in the unemployment system, which they're going to be, they say, again, there's no clarification on it right now, but they say that they're going to be a lot more relaxed. So he's actually furloughed all of his employees, saying, I don't have the cash flow to keep you on for 60, 90 days, but by me furloughing you, you guys will be eligible for the for unemployment, which is going to be relaxed.
And he'll hire them back if he has the ability.
Correct.
That's what I think furlough means. Did you
The other thing too that they're talking about, which I know a lot of people in the industry, the installers they use are 1099 employees because they're independent contractors. Typically, a 1099 employee might not be eligible for unemployment, but some of the things I'm seeing go through the system right now are saying they're going to include 1099 people as part of the group that can claim unemployment, because I know that's a challenge. As I speak to clients all across the country, some of the clients actually have installation teams that are essentially working at their shop every day, but they actually treat them as an independent contractor, as a 1099. And under the old rules, there would be no unemployment. So part of what they're talking about is making a way for that to happen, because that doesn't just impact our industry. That impacts a ton of different industries.
Which would be huge.
Well,
yeah.
There's a one thing that everyone can do, which is create multiple new business plans with multiple new projections and figure out the best plan of action as it changes. All of our numbers are way farther down than what we've ever seen, and there's no set time for when they're going to come back. So we all need to just create business plans around that. You need to pick times to furlough people. You need to figure out how long you can pay people if you want to pay them at all, and you need to figure out a plan for laying people off so that they can get on unemployment. So it's rude and it's scary and it's all of those things, but as long as you create a 30-day business plan, a 60-day business plan, and a 6-month business plan based on what's happening right now, you can make the correct actions. So even the people I talk to in the industry, they're having to do that now. If you have an estimator versus an installer, well, you know that it's going to take you way longer to train your installers and rehire installers. You know that you can hire an estimator. Well, your estimator has to go. Your project managers have to go. You've got to cut whatever you've got to cut, whether you're a 2-man operation or a 20-man operation, to make sure that you have a business at the end of this. Chris Robinson taught me that. And I told my team before we left the office, I said, there's 2 ways I'm approaching this. There's a way to take care of y'all. There's a way to make sure that we have a business to come back to. That's the most important thing, because whenever this ends in 2 weeks or 6 months, everyone's going to want a job, and there's not a guaranteed demand. So I have to make sure the business survives, or none of us have anything. And everyone understood that.
Tyner, what is your 2-week plan and what is your 6-week plan?
As of right now, my 2-week plan was to basically let everyone use we're closed. We're collecting all the calls and just furlough them without knowing when we're going to be able to install. I have everyone is getting paid using their sick days first, and then I'm going to supplement, and we were going to revisit that at 2 weeks. And at 2 weeks, either we're going to renegotiate pay based on 20-hour work weeks or whatever we have to do to maybe mitigate the cost of paying people if it's going to be longer. And then from there, we have to begin the layoff period. And then, I would help them figure out unemployment or whatever they have to do, but that's just where it is. And I mean, from there, we're just going to keep the business as lean as we can so that there is a business for us all to come back to.
For us, is similar. Our short-term plan, since we're still open, our business is off, especially the retail business. We have switched to a 4-day work week, which reduced payroll internally by 20%. And we're going to run that for a couple of weeks unless we get a mandate. If we get a mandate, I plan on paying a 2-week full salary for everybody. Then after that, we may have to go to some short-term layoff. And there's a program in place in Georgia that they don't even have to report. They don't have to search for a job because they know they know they get their job back. So they'll get that money, and we'll offset it with some vacation days that are due. And that's 6 weeks, though. We don't really have a plan for anything further than that. And unless
I don't think employees expect a plan bigger than that. Every one of my employees, every person that I talk to is so thankful to have a job and so thankful to have any income that they're just happy.
They have to pay their bills, and if your company doesn't survive and they're without it, or they believe they're going to be without a job, you're going to lose them to a competitor.
Yeah.
I think that overall, though, I think definitely the person that's working, I think we can all safely say that everybody on this call, Patrick, you've picked some good people on this call, but I feel that every one of us can stock 2 to 4 weeks worth of groceries in our house. That is not the case for everybody on the street. That is not the case for every installer, whether it's in our industry or a different industry, right?
Yeah, I agree.
That's where I think there are 2 places that I feel most, my heart goes out to the most is number one is that daily wage earner, the person that's getting paid hourly at $10, $12, $14 an hour, whatever that is, that person. And the second entity really is the small business, because here's what I've heard so far. The small business is going to get squeezed every which way. Recently, some of the developments and talks were about, hey, you've got to continue to pay your employees for X amount of time and we'll give it back to you as a tax credit. Well, guess what? If you don't have the cash flow to pay them, the tax credit comes at the end of the year or whenever it comes in. It's not, you may be profitable, but you still need cash flow to survive. So those are the two things. Now, good news on that is, and we recently, I did this because I realized that there were a few people in our industry that used to work for some competitors that got laid off of in warehouses and in other places. So what I realized was I told them that, look, Kroger, H-E-B, these places are hiring as nighttime stalkers, and they're getting paid, $14, $15, $16 an hour. It's very decent money. And that was actually decent also because they're nighttime stalkers. So if you're living in an area like Chris where your spouse may be working, then guess what? You can take a nighttime job and take care of the kids during the day and so forth.
Yeah,
So-
all the pizza parlors out here are hiring at $15 an hour, and they need 50 people per store. It's crazy.
So while we're on the topic of
Has
cash-
anybody?
Oh, I'm sorry. Real quick, I want to jump in with a question from Jeff Phillips. He was asking, just curious, how many months of operating expenses do each of you have in cash reserves? And I feel like, if possible, if it's something you feel comfortable with, try and relate that amount to either your payroll amount or your overall gross sales or something, because I feel like cash reserves is going to be very dependent on the size of your business.
We currently are sitting at about 4 weeks cash reserve in our payroll account, which is normally fed from our operating account, which now there's not a lot of operating money coming in. We have, I don't know if I need to even say, but we have a substantial amount in AR that's due to us, which would be, if we could collect all of it now, we could probably close for a couple of months and be fine. But like I said before, it's not going to affect us now. We'll get through this. It's going to affect us later in the year when we have a large project that we have to buy, $100,000 worth of material for. We're not going to have the cash reserve for that. So that's my fear. And I'm going to throw a question in there too. Has anybody checked in with their business insurance about loss of business? Because there is a clause in ours that if our building was to burn down or we had a problem where we didn't have an income, that we would get money through the insurance.
So I did, Chris, good question. So first of all, when you get that 100,000 square foot project, I'll give you terms on it. Let me know later this year. Okay. I got you covered. Second thing is, yes. So I'm on a board of about some small businesses. They're not really that small. I mean, they range anywhere from $500,000 all the way up to about $50 million. And so it's a group of businesses. So we looked at the insurance, what you're referring to in terms of small business, but there is a clause in 99.9% as I know it, if not 100, and I just say that for margin of error, that in the case of viruses or epidemics of this sort, all of that goes out of the window. Now, if you have a leak in the business that destroys everything, that's a totally different issue altogether. But an epidemic like this with a virus and so forth puts all that null and void. Now, they did say, when I looked into it, the insurance agent did say that if the government at some point said that, or the states went to these insurance companies and said, okay, look, you have to pay out because of X, Y, or Z, then we would do it. Now, I will tell you this. He did encourage, and I shared this on our conference call yesterday with the businesses I'm talking about, is he did say, he said, I think you should go ahead and put a claim in. He said, the way commercial businesses, again, I'm not an insurance agent at all, but I'm just sharing some information that I've learned, is that he did say, he said, I think you should put in a claim. He's going to confirm with me before the end of this week, because he said the way commercial insurance companies work is that if they don't pay out, if that insurance doesn't pay out, it really doesn't count against you, unlike an auto accident where they knew you got into an accident, but they didn't pay, but your premium will still go up. So that's just a little bit of thing. To answer the question of cash flow, look, it's all very dependent on what we've intended. Veloce, we intend on keeping all of our staff on, and our goal is that we may reduce the hours a little bit, right? But we're going to keep them on, and we're going to keep them on for at least 3 to 4 months of cash flow that we have here. But as it goes on to the 3rd and 4th month, the sliding scale will go into where it may not be 70%, it may not be 50%, maybe it's 40% or something like that.
Can I chime in here and give you something to think about? Something my wife and I have been discussing. Unemployment for our guys, for our employees. And I don't know about every state, but in California, I've never been on unemployment, but I've had a couple employees over the years that I've let go, take it out of my account, if you will. They get paid on their average wage, I believe, for the last 60 or 90 days. You got to stop and think about how much you're going to reduce their pay. Because if we do end up on unemployment, then they're going to be paid less. And that's something I'm struggling with right now.
Most of my guys make enough. Yeah, most of my guys make enough. Even with a reduction, they're still going to get the max benefit, which Georgia, it's $333, I think.
That's what I was about to say. It goes state to state, how they do that. And then we looked at it, me and my friend looked at it for Texas today on some of his guys, and it's $330, and it's taken off. You take the last 5 quarters of pay, and then you use
divided by.
Yeah, it's a whole big long equation.
Yeah, and that's why I said every state's different, but you want to look into that because I'm trying not to hurt my guys by, putting them on part-time and then giving them unemployment in a couple weeks. So it's just something we all have to look at. Everybody's got a different situation.
I think that's a very good point, is that you've got to. Now, here's another thing that I encourage you to talk to you about your employees with, and then as well, is that, and I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, because I actually wear a landlord hat as well, because I've got some rental properties as well. So there is, as you help and as you talk to your, because really, as leaders, we have to talk to our teams, not just as employees, but as, the elder brother or elder sister or whatever you are as well. So one of the things that is open right now is that landlords are being very, I think the government has basically kind of put some recommendations. There are no mandates as of yet, but you can go to your landlord. So as the employee's payroll may go down, they can go to their landlord and push off. And this is not forgiveness of rent, but this is just defer the rent that they may be due, or reduce the rent by a certain amount. So as their income goes down, their expenses can go down a decent amount too. And most landlords, if you've been there a while, are open to working with you.
Yeah. Hey, I got a story for you guys. You asked about reserves, and Chris answered. I don't want to. I had a conversation with someone in the window film industry, an owner of a manufacturer, and we were driving in the car. I think we were going to the airport, and I said we were talking business, and I don't remember the exact question that was asked, but it was something like, "How much reserve do you have for a company like this? What do you recommend for a business?" And the person said something absolutely ridiculous, like 6 years reserve. And I went home that night, or I talked to my wife that night or that week. I said, "You won't believe what this guy told me." Guess what? Now I get it. A company like that, a manufacturer of window film, can afford that because there's so much riding on it. I will tell you, when we're done with this, and if life goes back to normal, I will be working on a 6-year reserve, not only for myself, but for my employees that have been with me 6, 7 years, people I love. I don't know if 6 years is a realistic number, but when I was starting out, remember, I've only been in business 14 years. 8 years ago, I would have had no money in the bank, guys. It took a long time for me to be profitable. I'm in California where rents are outrageous, payrolls are outrageous.
It would take me 60 years.
Yeah, it would take me too. But I'll tell you something. 3-year reserve is looking like something I want to make a goal. 4-year reserve is something I'm going to make a goal. I've sat up at night wondering what this could do, what this could do to my house, what this could do to my business, what this could do to my cars I love to buy, what this could do to my vacations I like to take. This could be life-changing. I'll tell you, I'm learning from it. And that person I thought was a little bit crazy, I got a lot more respect for him now because he's ahead of the game that we're in. We're all in the same business boat. So Dave, he's leading the ship,
Yeah, this is a very unique time, though. So normally in recessions and so forth, volume goes down. Right now, we are at 0. So this is 0. So my recommendation to a business has been keep a year's worth. If you can, keep 1 year's worth. Look, we can't. This is a very unique situation. We can't plan for this kind of outlier that sticks out there. but 1 year's worth is good, because if your income goes down, you can still survive. You're not going to be bleeding like we are bleeding today. So again, everybody has their own set of guidelines. My thought is, if you can get to a year, that's a very comfortable place to be. Eric,
well, the other thing that I think Ty had said it earlier, and I think it's critical, like when you're planning on utilizing unemployment, all the different things we've talked about in the last 30 minutes, is one of the things Chris actually mentioned to me yesterday in a conversation we had as well is, as a business owner, one of the priorities I think you want to keep in mind is making sure there's a business for people to return to when this is over. So I think, as much as I think a lot of us want to keep people on staff as long as we can, if it gets to a point where you're putting your actual business at risk of surviving, in order to do that, you have to question, like, are you better serving your employees by putting them on unemployment and keeping the business alive so that when this is over, they have a business to come back to, or just taking it all the way out to the ragged edge and ended up where the business basically goes under? So I kind of feel like you have to look at it. To answer the earlier question about reserves, my key employees, I've made a commitment that I would keep them for 6 weeks at full pay. And I just said, we're just going to have to take it day by day after that. I looked at what we had in reserves, and I said, this is something I feel comfortable with, to say, that we can do something along those lines for 6 weeks. And then depending on what the next 6 weeks looks like, we'll have to make decisions on the fly from there. But I feel like the best thing I could do as a business owner is make sure when this is behind us, that those key employees have a business to come back to as well.
And you know what's funny is that it looks like all of us are talking with a very similar attitude as that. I have a very good friend. He owns a different type of business. He has 7 or 8 employees. He let them all go. I said, what? He goes, yeah, let them all go. And I'm going to run it with my wife, and we're going to ride out the storm. And it came down to, he just didn't care about his employees. I mean, he literally said, I can replace every one of them. And I just said, that's not how it is for me. I mean, I don't know how about you guys, but we work every day together. These guys are I want to protect my employees as much as I want to protect the business. And that is a fine line to walk. And that's my goal, to do both. And I don't know how to do it yet. I'm learning day by day.
It's not the same. And when you compare window film industry, I have several friends in the HVAC business. They could let employees all go tomorrow, and in 3 weeks have them all built back up with a different crew. There's a ton of them out there. None of them can run out and start their own business. In the window tinting business, it's been driven into everybody that they can be self-employed. It's easy to get the product. It's easy to go out on their own. That's why we have such a hard time staffing. We have to pay very well, treat them very well, make them part of our families, which is, most of us do. We consider our employees our family. But there's two things. One, when I was talking to Patrick about how far do you take this? Do you take it until you basically run your business in the ground just to keep your employees paid, and then all of a sudden you're all out of a job? Or do you protect the business that those employees might be able to go back to? And that's where the whole term of how much money do I have, can I set aside, how far can it get us before I have to pull the plug? And I was hoping to hear some kind of, this stimulus bill that's going to help small businesses. That would give me a little bit of freedom to spend more money keeping my guys around. Usually let's say we have $100,000 in cash reserve. And when we go through slow times, we're only turning that reserve faucet on just a little bit just to help offset the loss of income. But now many of us, it's full blast because you're sucking it dry, paying the bills, paying the credit card bills, paying the material bills, paying employees. So even if what a year reserve in normal time would be fine, because you're trickling it into your normal income, which is just reduced. Now you're only living off reserve. It's 100%.
Yeah, to Harry's point earlier, I think we all have to,
Wait, hang on. I don't think Chris's mic is on. Chris is still talking.
No, not.
He isn't.
Oh, his lips were moving. Sorry, it must be late.
So one thing I think that, we talked about earlier and Harry had mentioned and we've sort of talked about is, I don't think that anybody should be beating themselves up for maybe not having as much as, this is something we're genuinely on uncharted territory. Even during tough economic times, nobody expects the number to go from what it was 2 weeks ago to potentially zero. That's something, you can't really plan for. And we've not really seen that, quite frankly, in our lives. To Dave's point earlier, after 9/11, there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear and a lot of chaos. But within a week or two, things started to kind of resemble getting back on track and business happening. After the 2008 crash, that certainly hurt a lot of people, hurt a lot of areas of the country, worse than other areas of the country, but it didn't go to zero. And I think the difference here, is that a lot of people that are in states that they were shut down, they went from, we talked to clients all over the country, and I can tell you that 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I was speaking to a lot of clients that were telling me that they were having their best year in company history.
Yep.
2 weeks ago, they were telling me that business was as strong as they've ever seen it. And in 2 weeks, for some people in some areas of the country, that number has went to zero. That's something I don't know that any business plan takes into account. We just don't think that's going to happen.
My wife told me yesterday, we're going to finish this quarter as our best first quarter ever in the history of the company, with the fact we closed last Thursday. That's crazy. As of right now, we are still doing better than last year. I just can't believe that. What happened?
Same.
And David, the beauty of that is that as the dust settles, our economy was so solid. And as the dust settles, I think we are, and that's why I think that if you're paying your employees, Ty, Chris, Dave, if you're paying your employees right now, you should be focused on coming out of this so strong and looking like the best in. So take this opportunity. I read a joke that somebody sent me yesterday, and it's kind of cool, but I think it applies to business as well. And it says something along the lines of, shoot, I'm in trouble now. Every time my wife used to tell me to do something, I would tell her that I would do it when I have time. Now I have time. So
my garage is clean. The shop is clean. My to-do list is small.
Right. So
and and the stock market, I hope you guys are putting a little money away, because the stock market is on fire.
Yeah. So I think
the other thing too that I was going to say, Harry, is I posted something in Window Film Pros the other day. There's a lot of people coming together during this time to create a lot of opportunities. And I think you can choose to do something productive, to your point, or not. One of the things is I think 9 of the Ivy League schools are actually doing 450 classes online right now, free of charge. Some people could take advantage of a marketing class, a business planning class, or a lot of different things. And that's just one example. I feel like, if you're in a situation where your business is slow or closed down because of the thing, I think as a business owner, go into it and say, okay, there's a lot of things that I would have loved to have done, put together a more solid business plan, or just get my books in order, do a lot of things, and try to, as tough as it is, try to utilize this time period to solidify your company or solidify some education that you wanted to get about a particular topic, and prepare yourself to even be stronger on the far side of this than you were when we started.
Someone said earlier someone said they follow my Instagram. Who was that? I don't remember. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen my videos. I've been out standing in front of all the businesses that I support on a regular basis, making videos and promoting those small businesses, because I can't do much more for my company. Like I said, I've cleaned everything, I've organized everything. So now I'm out trying to support my community, and I'm going to say it here. It's time we write reviews for that business down the street we love. It's time we write reviews on TripAdvisor for that vacation we took last year. Chris, you were out in your RV. You got some RV parks. They need reviews. We got to all come together, and we got to help each other out, because when this is all over, we're all going to need all the reviews we can get. We're going to need all the positive energy we can get.
And all that being said, this is still just an entrepreneurial game. We all have to figure out what's the best business plan, what's the best route. No one was planning on this, and there's going to be a lot of tent shops that aren't there at the end of this. It's the reality, and you can be emotional about it or you can be utilitarian about it. The smart people are at their computers working on their business right now so that when they open up, they have the strongest foundation they ever had, and they come back bigger and stronger than ever. The smart ones are making a business plan for 30 days, for 60 days, and for 6 months. The other ones aren't. There's going to be people that are sent home. It's never been small businesses' job to take care of the emotional needs of the world. It's been their job to make money and give money to employees. And that's what we have to do. My goal is to make sure that we're there when the economy comes back and we all go back to work, to give as many people jobs and get as much window film up as we can. And that's what makes good entrepreneurs versus bad ones. And it's what's going to make a bunch of people wish they didn't leave and go start their own business and not save any money. It's just the reality. And it just is what it is.
So here's a thought, right? It's a little outside the box. I don't even know if it's possible, but it's something to think about. You're seeing manufacturers repurpose. You've heard the president talk about an alcoholic beverage company that repurposed itself to the
hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizers, right? So
Yeah.
you're seeing Tesla now talking about potentially building ventilators. So you're seeing repurposing. Here's a question that I think we really need to dig up. So while I was looking, while you guys were talking, I looked up what are the 16 essential businesses out there. So we need to also be looking a little outside the box to see if there's any repurposing, not for the sake of fabrication, so that we can say, I had somebody tell me yesterday, well, we are actually in the healthcare industry because we help ultraviolet rays and cancer. So I'm not closing my shop down. And I said, man, listen, we can spin what we do in 100 different ways. So let's not do it for the purpose of fabrication, but let's look at repurposing. I saw Expel post today that they will be open because they are part of the essential. So they must have done some recalibration or repurposing. Eric, was somebody from Expel on, or was
we had
somebody
Dee
ask
Mitchell
you
on a few weeks ago, but something that kind of fits into what everybody's talking about right now, amongst us, is, what businesses, like you mentioned repurposing and like what the business plan is moving forward. One of the things that stands out to me is, Expel's been like talking about I believe it's their PPF, unless it's a different film, being antimicrobial. And I know Ceramic Pro has the tags, and they're talking about sanitation for cars and so on. And like, to me, if you're looking for things to do right now, one of them would be marketing. I would focus on, building up like your infrastructures, your processes. If you have an employee you're paying to stay home, you can pay them to stay home and you can employ them while they're home because they have a phone, they have a computer. Yeah, it takes a little bit of like legwork. You might be uncomfortable on Skype for a few days together, but like, why not? But circling back, I guess to me, what stands out, Harry, to your question was, any sort of like disinfectant. I could see somebody who normally is going into a business and applying window tint, applying antimicrobial, protection to countertops and to door handles and so on. And these are things that, now's the perfect time. Look into it, start getting those thoughts together, and it could just be one part of how you hit the ground running in the future. And it's not a
Eric,
far stretch from window film, is what I'm saying. Their materials are already used.
I agree with you, but and by the way, I got a text today from Jeremy Shapiro, who's doing something like this, who's also very innovative in doing something. He's creating some masks or something. I don't know. But here is something I want to be careful about. I agree with you, but I want to make sure that as we do these things, it's not for the sake of fabrication. Look, antimicrobial sounds really beautiful, but the question is it addressing the issue of the coronavirus? Now, today,
Well,
and
I'm
and
not speaking. Hold on, I'm not speaking to a potential cure or a thing like this is what you should go outside of your home right now and start offering. What I'm simply saying is, we can assume people's mind's going to be on cleanliness and sanitation moving forward. So this could be something that maybe helps make up for, when you're moving forward. Of course, you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, just like any service, but there's still just an opportunity there, at least to look into it and educate yourself on it and see where that rabbit hole leads you.
No doubt. I just wanted to make sure that, we're just not doing things for the sake of taking advantage of
I feel like
and
Jeremy
I'm not
Shapiro,
saying
you mentioned Jeremy Shapiro making masks. To me, sounds more like taking advantage of a virus situation than working on products that already exist in the marketplace or being offered by manufacturers like Ceramic Pro. And, you're not making something up in your garage. You're taking a product that existed. Maybe there wasn't the best way to market it. And now it could just be something in the spectrum of things that, as a business, if I had a bar, I would love to be able to say my bar tops are now protected with whatever it is, even if it's not going to protect against viruses, even it just protects against basic common cold. I mean, it protects about anything. I think cleanliness is going to be on the uttermost people's minds. So any aspect of being able to fill that demand is something that now is the time, because realistically what may happen, and of course we don't need to get into predictions, but one possibility would be next week they announce, hey, we can't have all businesses shut down. We're going to keep everybody in place, stay in place. But if if you're going to have a business and you want to frequent that business, there's going to be rules that the consumers and the businesses must take in place. So let's say, you must stay 6 feet apart, and maybe spaces between chairs and tables and sanitation requirements that a business must follow. And if that happens, at that point, you're probably getting back into business. You're following all those things. This time of sitting around becomes a lost opportunity, because once things start to roll, you're going to start to roll. You don't have that open time. And that's all I'm saying is, I don't disagree with anything anyone said. I agree with all of it. That's why I've been so quiet, is because I want to take it all in, because it's been such good information. I just think the key takeaway is use this time to make sure you're making the best decisions you can for your unique situation, your employees, your unique business, your lifestyle, the whole thing. Something that's going to work out best, and then use that time to, propel yourself forward, because this isn't going to last forever. So however long it lasts, it's not going to last forever. That's for sure.
I tell you,
Hey
one
guys.
of the hardest things to be productive and creative when there's no money coming in. Sitting in front of a computer working on a website when you're worried how the bills are going to get paid. It's terribly hard to do. But now is the time to do it.
Yep. Hey guys, I know everybody on the call is busy. I appreciate everybody making the time. I want to suggest to Eric, if he's open to it, is maybe, because these things are changing on a daily, weekly for sure basis, daily for most of us. If we could potentially plan on doing something like this over the course of the next couple of weeks. I know I have to jump off because I got a couple other phone calls I got to be on, but I think something like this, and maybe even doing it, once a week, like getting together, maybe not the same group of people even, but I think it would be good for the industry. I think we need to communicate. I think we need to share what we're doing, what's being successful, things like that. And I think that, we could just come out of this, we're better together as an industry. I was on a podcast with somebody yesterday, and we were talking, a business owner, and they kept using the term better together. And I thought, that's, we oftentimes look at each other, or especially out in the marketplace, we could look at somebody as a competitor, but legitimately at a time like this, I think the more we can share, the more we can do to share ideas of what we're doing as an industry, we're going to be better together and be better situated to come back as strong or stronger than we were before at the end of this. But like I said, I think it takes everybody just sharing what they're doing and coming together as a community, instead of everybody hunkering down and saying, okay, what can I do to take care of myself and what I'm going to do. I think the more we can do things like this, the better it's going to be for everybody.
I agree.
Perfect.
I'm in. Any day, any time. We should definitely do it often, because like you said, things are changing, and we can.
And I apologize. I just have to, like I said, I got a hard stop in probably like 5 minutes. So I just wanted to kind of maybe bring things in for a landing if we can in those 5 minutes.
The last thing I would like to say is that, guys, this is a great opportunity to do while you're planning, like Ty said. This is a great opportunity to do the things that you did not have time to do. This in your business. I mean, honestly, as a newer business, for me, I was talking to Eric yesterday about it. We were blowing and going. Sales were ramping up. They were doing amazing. But in this process, some of the things that I wanted to do, we didn't have the time to do because we were just blowing and going, right? Like you, Dave, right? So now that this has come up, we want to make the most of it. And when this ends, we want to have done everything that we wanted to do all along.
I agree.
Well said.
Well, let's do this again soon.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys for making the time on a short notice. Literally, Dave and I talked yesterday. I reached out to Chris. I actually reached out to Ty this morning, and Eric reached out to Harry. This thing all came together in, a little bit over 12 hours. So I appreciate you guys making time and jumping on. And I think, like I said, as things come up, I think let's just plan on making something like this a regular thing, because I think the more we can do something like this, the more it's going to. And I think a lot of the people on this call are pretty established. We've been in the industry for a while and we've grown our businesses. But I think there's a lot of people that are probably tuning in and watching this that are really benefiting from some of the things that we're saying that maybe are a year in, 2 years, 6 months. And I think that if anything we say can help those guys, I think that's really important.
Well, thanks for putting this together.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Eric,
guys.
for putting it together.
I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Bye, all y'all soon.